You'd be quite the catch. This was something told to me by my father the other day. Not the first time, probably not the last. And I don't mean just from him, I've heard it from other people as well. Not just family, but friends also. So, I went for a hike today, and for whatever reason, this quote from him replayed itself in my mind, and I just decided, what the hell, chase it down the rabbit hole and try to analyze it a little bit. What is a man in the modern age? This is the kind of stuff I was thinking about. More specifically, what is a successful man? And even more specific, what does it mean to be a happy, successful, and content man in the modern age that doesn't have, or really doesn't want, a woman? I'm willing to guess a lot of MGTOW have pondered the same kind of questions. I'm also willing to guess that most men don't, but that percentage is probably increasing. And I don't blame these men, like my father or older men. For most of them, the amount of time spent thinking about this kind of stuff is like zero. What it is to be a man for them is to get married and rear children. It's pretty simple. And then they bring up those children to be successful enough to rear their own children, so on and so forth, right? And however, so many of these men get so lost in this rat race of biological pursuit. Gene propagation and bowing to the evolutionary little voice in their mind that tells them, chase after women and children. This voice becomes their master, whether they realize it or not. It might be subconscious, they might openly realize it and chase after it. I don't know, I'm not in these guys' heads, but and I think we as the MGTOW community like to claim that women are these men's masters, but I don't know if that's true. I think deep down it's not. It can be a cause, but I think the ultimate cause of the pursuit of women and pussy is these men's, and I think most MGTOW would agree to me, and maybe I'm just arguing over semantics, but it's the non-mastery of their own biologically ingrained urges that cause them to chase after these women. These men aren't being mastered by women, they're being mastered by their own biology, which is women, but I don't know if you guys understand what I'm trying to say here, but once these men eventually get to the age that they can really start living, it's too late. Once the debts are gone, once the children are gone and they can retire, it's too late. They no longer have their health or the time to live what their dreams were in the past, or maybe what they would like to do. Maybe they have high blood pressure, they have a heart condition, they can no longer live what maybe they dreamed of living. It's too late. I mean, maybe they can go to Arizona or Mexico or some pseudo-vacation to simulate what they think the good life is and what they can rationalize to themselves what they worked so long to achieve, but 99 times out of 100, these men are broken men. They just won't admit it. They never chased their dreams, and they never lived when they had the chance. They derive their purpose from this masochistic, Jordan Peterson-esque lifestyle where being someone that by his own choice willingly puts everyone else's needs before his own. And this is what it was like to be a man, for most of human history, right? And I'm not saying this lifestyle is wrong. I mean, it got us to where we are, and that's Jordan Peterson's argument. Evolution is the ultimate master, and what's good for evolution is good for us, for the most part. That's obviously a massive simplification, but you know what I mean. It's there's nothing wrong with this. Maybe it's just someone who doesn't wish to live this lifestyle. It's funny because we get scorned and condemnation from the majority of the population. To even think about these kind of questions is to be looked upon with suspicion. And I mean, I don't correct these kind of people who tell me these kind of things like you'd be quite a catch. I realize that most of them won't understand, and a lot of them can't understand. The cognitive dissonance is just too high for most. To say something like, I don't want to get married is to just cause a lot of older men, maybe even women, to question their very existence and their own life choices. And I mean, you can usually tell who understands, who won't. A lot of men, I think do understand what we're doing. but most won't, I don't think. And that percentage might continue to increase, but for some things told to me, like, it's good to do what you want now and vacation now before you have children and a wife and that kind of stuff. And I mean, most men or even women would react like a UFO descended on their front lawn if I told them, I don't want to get married, I want to keep doing what I'm doing. I mean, I think more realistically, I think most would laugh and assume I'm just some naive young man who doesn't know how life works. But if they knew I was really, truly serious, they would probably give that UFO descended on their lawn kind of look. Now, what does it mean to be a good catch? I want to move on here. I think someone could point to a number of things, but it seems to me the clearest one is financial stability. The classic relationship is one in which a man willingly capitulates everything he has, everything he's worked for, everything he will continue to work for in order to provide for the woman and their progeny, right? That's what a classical relationship is. I mean, these men lose all their leverage in life the moment they sign that marriage contract. The moment it's signed, all their leverage is completely gone. And even their control over their own happiness and their destiny is, at that point, not in their hands anymore. I mean, it's no wonder most married men are controlled outright, or maybe in a more subtle manner, by their woman. I'm sure everybody's noticed this. 9 times out of 10, the man is either outright or subtly controlled by the woman. And they're forced to bow to the sculpting of the female into whatever man she desires. You can lose your hobbies, your friends, your lifestyle, your money, and you may even come to enjoy it. I think everybody's probably seen this in a lot of men. They actually come to enjoy their own chains. Women are so good at doing this in a subtle way that you'll be like the frog in the pot. You know, the old analogy, like you boil the water slowly and the frog in the pot doesn't even realize what's happening until it's too late. And this is like most men. And maybe even then they don't realize. All of a sudden 60 years old and they don't know what the hell happened. Obviously any blue pillar or woman could at this point say no waltz or something along those lines, but how can we as men know whether or not she's in a walt? And even if she is in a walt at the commencement of marriage, like what's stopping that from changing? The man loses all leverage he has. You know, he has no leverage at that point. To be a good catch is to really be a potential sucker. You've not taken the bait yet, but you can be sure there are many wishing to snare you. It's like walking, everybody's seen that Simpsons, it's like Homer and Bart running the stand at the county fair. And they're people at the ring toss game, they know the rings don't work, but they're looking for suckers who are willing to play the game anyways. And I think that's kind of the way things have gotten to in the marriage and relationship sphere in the modern age. But anyway, to gain some context, I guess, I'm 27 years old, almost 28. I'm largely successful. I don't want any of this to sound like boasting. I just want to give some context. Largely happy. I think I'm happy, and I'm living my life to the best of my abilities. I own my own house, almost outright. So, a few more years, I'll have my mortgage paid off. I own my own vehicle. I have no loans, haven't for a long time, other than my mortgage, obviously. But it's almost done. I even said, like, when I got it, this is the last loan I'll ever take. And that's, I think, a good lesson for men is debt is cancer. It's your biggest enemy financially. But anyway, I have a nice amount of money in savings. I own my own business. I'm pretty successful at it. It's given me really good stability, I guess, in that sense. But more importantly, it's allowed me to live the life I want. I have time for my hobbies, like guitar, fitness, hiking, reading, astronomy, traveling, learning languages, whatever. I actually just got back from a 5-week trip to Ecuador and Peru. And by all accounts, my life is largely successful. The most important thing is that I'm completely content and happy. I have little to no desire to pursue the gynocentric zeitgeist that people highly suggest or demand I pursue. The thing I value above all others is my time and my personal freedom. The amount of time that most men spend, and specifically young men, on chasing pussy, the pursuit of pussy is just staggering. The amount of time wasted. And even growing up, like, I always felt like a beggar in these kind of situations. Like, like I was the peasant and the woman was the nobleman. Even if you, I mean, say even if you could become the best PUA and the most alpha man, you're still the one who's worth less in a societal context, and you are still the one who needs to impress her, not the other way around. No matter how successful you become, even if you become like a Elon Musk, I think maybe there might be the elite percent of men who can not have to impress her. But even then, I think depending on the kind of woman you're trying to get, you still will. Like if you're a fucking Tom Cruise or Elon Musk, you're still gonna have to be the pussy beggar if you want to get another actor or top model in the world. And even these men who say these other kind of men, the ones who chase after casual sex and this kind of bullshit. They're usually unfulfilled and they're wasting so much time in their lives. Even if you're the best seducer, the best man, you're still going to need to spend at least a few hours, 9 times out of 10, around or talking to or texting these women before they're willing to sleep with you. And I can't rationalize that in my mind. Like, I mean, in my younger days, I would throw away a lot of time doing this kind of stuff. Why would I, in the best case scenario, value what this woman can offer me over what I can offer myself? Why would I spend my time chasing a warm, wet hole over, say, reading Stephen Hawking talk about cold black holes? You know what I mean? Like, what's more important in life and in a cosmic sense? Going out at night to gaze with my telescope at endless cosmic vistas, instead of going out to a bar or restaurant or whatever to pussy beg for a woman to get my rocks off. I've spent the time in my younger years thinking a man is only as good as the woman he gets or the women he can get. This is not true. For the most part, women can offer you nothing. If your mind is in the right place, if your pursuits are in the right place, what I would consider the right place, for the most part, 99% of women can offer you nothing. There's nothing a woman can do that will enhance your being unless you don't have the self-esteem in the first place. If you feel like a woman is needed in your life for your life to be complete, then you will think women have a lot to offer. But the more content you get with your own life, the more you realize that women, maybe they're sometimes nice, but mostly they're a whole lot of wasted time and just like a dangerous hand grenade waiting to go off, especially if you commit to them or have a child. Like, at this point, your life is like a roulette table where the best case scenario is red. You could live a happy life or get what you think you want, or maybe you do, I don't know. And black is, things can get horribly wrong. And I think this is a generous example of the real odds. I don't think it's close to 50-50 in my mind, but long story short, despite what society or anything tells you, your time is your most valuable resource. So spend it learning to know yourself. Most of these men that value women this highly don't know themselves. They chase after endless relationships and pussy because they don't know who they are. They don't know who the fuck they are. Or maybe they're scared of their own thoughts. I think a lot of them, they have to be around people because they're scared of being alone. I think they realize inherently life may be nihilistic, but they fill this void within themselves with others. But I think it's like Schopenhauer said, it's only when you're alone that you're truly free to do anything you want. And I'm not saying to be a recluse, quite the opposite. I think above anything almost, you should value your freedom, but you should also value your close friendships and close familial relationships for people lucky enough to have them, because I think these are the things, and even these kind of guys like Schopenhauer would say, like, at the end of your life, these are the most important things in your life, is your close relationships with others. Don't throw it away with people who are going to waste your time, but there's a lot of good people out there too. But I think a lot of these men, they need a woman to be happy. And if you need a woman to be happy, in my mind, you've already lost at life. You've lost it happiness. This kind of codependent happiness, it's destined to fail. And you see these kind of people all the time, the ones who have hundreds of pictures of their significant other on Facebook. And on a side tangent, I think you should quit Facebook, by the way. I'm not endorsing Facebook here, but just to convey who I'm talking about. A lot of these kind of people feel incomplete without another because of their own inherent nihilism. I think that's the case of life. The only bearable way to cope with the nihilistic nature of life is to just engross yourself in another. And whether that other can take you for all you're worth, in divorce or something, that's secondary consideration. They're so scared of their own solitude or being alone that they're willing to take these massive risks. And this is an unhealthy way to live. If you've never spent any time alone with yourself and your thoughts, it's impossible to know who you are. To summarize this whole video, I think to be a catch means to abandon or to risk abandoning your dreams and what makes you currently happy. To take the bait, it's to risk all of this. It's a succumbing to the tidal wave of the feminist zeitgeist we live in. To risk it all for the biological imperative ingrained within you. You're giving way to this little voice, this evolutionary little voice in your head that's telling you to chase these unhealthy things, and to the society brainwashing you into thinking that these things are what you should be chasing after. But the good thing is you don't have to listen. This is actually my favorite thing about feminism, and I would argue feminism could even be good for us men. It's freed a lot of us from the unwritten rules of becoming a work husk and a provider. And I don't mean to insult MGTOW who've gotten divorced or had bad experiences. I know they're out there, and this sounds a little privileged because I've never taken the bait. I accepted the stove was hot before I touched it, I guess you could say. But feminism has let us men evolve from the man of my parents' generation or our grandparents' generation to what we can do now. We have a choice. We don't have to live a life we may not want anymore. We can spend our time doing what we want to do and going where we want to go and living for ourselves. It's more socially acceptable than ever before to do this. It's still not acceptable, but we no longer have to fear, getting white feathers or being labeled gay or a pedophile or something like that simply for being single. I think this was the case 20 or 30 years ago. The single guy on your block, probably some fucked up weirdo, and that's what people would think. But I'm unwilling to wait to live my life. I want to live my dreams now and do what I want to do right now. And I do, and it's great. I think we're like butterflies. This is a Carl Sagan quote. We're like butterflies that flutter for a day and think it's forever. Our time is short, and we can't afford too many mistakes. So why take the bait? Why take it, guys? I say don't. See you next time.